Are we live? We're live. Hello, it's Allison here. And today, if you have ever had a bad day, I'm going to talk about how do you turn that frown upside down. I just felt like saying that little saying there. I'm excited to be here. I've just finished a talk with an organization and 2 hours, so my voice is about ready to be done. But I am here to tell you how to turn around a bad day. I hope today's not a bad day. I hope you've had a great day. But if not, well, what can you do? And it's interesting because the other day I was having a not so great day and I thought, you know what? I don't want to do any of my advice. I just want to be in a bad day. And I watched a movie and I enjoyed myself and I just sort of sat there. And you know what? I want to give you permission, not that you need it from me, but to just be okay with that. Like sometimes we don't have to be in our absolute best self. And actually, we can process the tougher times in our lives a little bit better when we lean into them and we just go for it and we don't deflect, uh, deny and deflect the tough stuff in our lives. So sometimes we don't even have to label it as a bad day if we're just having a bad, like, something that's legitimate. This is exciting. I am seeing, so I'm on Ecamm today, streaming live through Restream. So I'm super excited that I can see your comments. Hi, Greg. Great to be having you here. And Amanda, perfect topic for me. Well, you know what happens, I think, is we have all these unrelated tasks that can accumulate. And that's how we end up with a bad day, right? As opposed to just a bad thing that happened. For example, and I mean, I know I've used this example before, but it's so simple because we've all been there, right? It's you wake up late, your alarm didn't go off, you forgot to charge your phone, you're somebody in the house who's late as well, and now if you have kids, you've got to get them off to school, and they're going to be late, so now you got to call the principal and tell them why you're late, and then you hit traffic jam, and then the barista gets your coffee order wrong, and then you spill coffee on your shirt, and next thing you know, you get to the work or to whoever you're going to spend time with next, and you announce that you're having a bad day, when in actual fact you had a series of inconvenient, annoying incidences that on their own are not really that big an issue. It's when we apply the emotion collectively to the entire sequence of events that we end up with this quote unquote bad day. And so part of it is understanding it's not necessarily a bad day. It's things that went wrong. So even if you had like a really, really difficult thing happen, like a major catastrophe, it's still not technically a fully bad day. It was a bad situation within a day. I'm such a stickler for how we the stories we tell, right? How we formulate those stories. And so I challenge you, when you say you're having a bad day, is it really a bad day, or is it bad moments that I've now joined together that don't deserve to be joined together? Just the thinking. All right, so you may have seen that I did a little Juju reset blog or post on both LinkedIn and Facebook. Actually, I think, Amanda, you were one of the people who shared it, so thank you very much. So those are the things that I wanted to talk about here. I think part of it is figuring out like what's driving your sensation of having a bad day. The first question in my rapid fire resilience rundown is, what is the real issue? What's happening? We need to be really clear. And so is it an emotional thing that is, overclouded because you're upset about something? So what I noticed last week for myself was I was very much, I was very into the news. I was for a few weeks. So between the freedom stuff in Canada and all of that, and then moving on towards Ukraine and the devastation that's actually happening over in Ukraine and overseas and whatnot, and my heart just breaks for them. But I noticed not but. And I noticed that because I was so obsessed with the news cycle, I was having that. It's one thing to be obsessed with the news cycle, but I wasn't being emotionally aware of how I was responding to that so that I could process those emotions of fear and devastation and, I don't think empathy is the right word, sympathy, because, I don't think most of us have been through something like that. And so this was really something. So you want to figure out, like, where is it coming from? I think that's really good. And it's about getting compassionately curious with yourself so that there's no judgment, right? The next piece I always like to check in with, and forgive me if this is TMI, but check in with your overall health. Is it hormonal time for you? Is there anything going on? Like, is your iron low? Is your vitamin B low? I'm a really good friend of mine, and we used to like go out like probably once a month or whatever for dinner, and maybe even more than that. Actually, we hung out quite a bit. Back when we used to just freely get to go to things like restaurants. Sorry, that was a joke. And if one of us was sort of feeling a little bit off or feeling sad, we'd both go like, hey, have you had any vitamin B lately? And like the joke was always, no, haven't. And that would, like, it's so simple, but sometimes we get into a bit of a funk because our health is off. And I mean, that can be a really big issue. It can also be something really simple, like you're not getting enough vitamin D, B, zinc. Like, I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, but I've had them on the show before. Something definitely to consider, though. Physically, do you need a little something, something? Last night, I did not sleep. Now, I am a masterful sleeper. I don't always wake up rested, I guarantee you, but like I can sleep. And I wasn't feeling well. I had quite a bit of pain. And so I slept for an hour and a half. Yeah. And then drove into London and set up the whole system so I look like I'm at home, and then tell everybody I'm not. Anyway. And then some other stuff went on behind the scenes. And I just am aware. It is, interestingly, it has not turned into a bad day at all. It's been quite a lovely day. However, before I started practicing this work that I'm talking about every Monday at 3:15 and share with audiences, I would have had a day where I was like, oh my God, I'm exhausted, and it would have overshadowed everything. And I think one of the keys to turn around a bad day is we need to be self-aware of, okay, I am vulnerable, I am at risk because insert reason here. I'm at risk because I've had an hour and a half of sleep. I am physically exhausted. My pain is high. And I just, by knowing that, I can show up and not have it impact me. Isn't that funny, eh? Like, instead of being like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. It's like, okay, I slept for an hour and a half last night. That's probably not going to be good for my body. So I need to have a little bit more patience. I need to be even more self-aware about how I'm showing up and interacting with other humans, because it's not their fault that I only had an hour and a half sleep last night. Can you feel me here? Somehow, when something's off with our own self, if we're not aware and we're not bringing that to the forefront, very easy to take it out on people who are the innocent bystanders who do not deserve that. It's not their fault. So really looking at that emotion of what's causing it. All right. Now you have a choice. You can stay stuck and just have a bad day and go to bed and wake up tomorrow and hope you get up on the right side of the bed, or you can choose to change it. Now, as I said at the very, very beginning, the other day, I was like, you know what? I just want to be in a bit of a funk. I want to feel the feels. I want to sink into it. And I'm okay with that. And we have to allow ourselves the space and the grace to process the real stuff. I don't necessarily think that makes it a bad day. It's just a bad vibe, right? And feeling a bit sad. Oh, Teresa, hi. Awesome to have you. Well, see, look at you. Look good for an hour and a half. So, right? Like makeup does wonders. And do feel I'm teasing. Um, Thank you very much. Yes, it is. I'm glad I look all right. I can't see, but thanks. All right. So the next thing you can do is, and these are things that you're going to know and guess, but getting outside, and it doesn't even matter if it is just a step out on your front deck or your front door, look up in the sky, take in the wonderment. It is a beautiful reset, juju, just pause. And what I've noticed, because I was doing cold showers as part of 75 Hard Phase 1 in through January and a bit of February. Actually, no, I think it ended in January. January 28th, I ended. I've actually noticed that going outside in the frigid temperatures without a coat on and without proper paraphernalia is a whole other level of reset, right? Standing out there, like normally I'd be all bundled up and take my dog out to go to the bathroom, and I'd be like, put on the hat and the gloves and the whole kit and caboodle. Now I go out in my big fuzzy socks and a pair of Birkenstocks and just whatever I'm wearing. And yeah, a little bit. No, but I think that exercise piece is so critical. Get the blood flowing, and it doesn't have to be a 45-minute thing. It can be 1 minute, 2 minutes, a little dance party, put on your favorite song. It's always, possible. Oh, no, Jake's saying, she always looks great. Well, let's not exaggerate. I don't think that's a true statement, but I'll take it. It does, right, Rod? It's like, when you breathe that in and you feel that intensity of the outdoors, it really can be a great reset. The other piece is, and these aren't necessarily in order, I'm just kind of going through some of the things I put in that post the other day, but like recommit to your vision, your greatest purpose, your why. Find the silver lining in what's happening in front of you. I guess that's a different situation, but like really getting centered. And I notice on the days that I might label as a down day or a bad day, I'm not as grounded in my purpose and like as I am on the good days. And so not forcibly, like proactively choosing to reset into that and to feel and lean into that is really can be quite helpful. It also, I think, when you look at the bigger picture, you can the minutia of the day seems so insignificant, doesn't it? And I think when we get into these quote unquote bad days, we're getting so lost and caught up in the minutia of the day as opposed to the bigger picture, right? It's the spilled coffee, it's the annoying response from somebody that felt out of character. Those are the issues, right? That compiled really don't need to have it. By the way, next thing, I actually have limited my, oh no, it didn't let me do it there, 10 minutes a day on social media. That's it. I think I have 2 minutes left today. Now, I can go on and ignore to post something. I mean, obviously I'm creating content, but creating content lights me up. So obviously I'm going to do that. But I just found I was scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And sometimes it gets really easy to just lose an hour. Like, what happened? What? I got up at 6 a.m., but it's 7 o'clock and I've not done anything yet. Oh, because I just wasted that time scrolling. I mean, that obviously doesn't happen a lot, or like every day, but I have limited it to 10 minutes on my phone. Now, I have said if I'm on my desk and I need to look, great, no limit there because I don't spend a lot of time scrolling when I'm on the desktop. And that is, by the way, a setting inside of an iPhone. So if you are someone who's doing that, because if we're getting sucked into that negativity, and goodness knows, there's a lot of negativity out there. A lot of it. Who is it? Clay Hebert? Herbert, I forget his last name. I think it's Heber. Anyway, he said if you struggle with getting grounded and meditating and really being quiet, which sometimes I do, he said just when you're driving, don't call somebody, don't turn on music, don't do anything, and just be. And it's interesting because like I think we can have this deflect, this I don't feel grounded, I don't feel comfortable, or I'm really nervous about what's happening in the world, or I'm frustrated by this thing. And instead of sinking into it, and instead of being in the moment, we can, or at least I do, without awareness, and then hopefully I bring in the awareness in. I mean, that's why I teach what I teach. But we can go to the next song, or call a friend, or get lost in social media or reading something else, so that we don't actually deal with the thing that was causing us the frustration in the first place. And that gotta go technique, right, is really, really ineffective if you want to have a strong way to live in the present moment. Yeah. What's he saying? Don't let the bastages win. What are the bastages? You gotta tell me, is it the bastards? Or God, am I learning a new vocabulary today, Rod? I don't even know. All right. You'll have to school me on that. That's the thing, doing live and being so vulnerable. People might be like, Allison, why don't you know that word? And think I'm not very vocabulary, but I have written 4 books. So in fairness, I know many words. But this whole idea of like sinking into the true feelings is so important. It's also important when we look at that accumulation to create a bad day, where we go from one obstacle to the next obstacle to the next obstacle to the next. If we don't process that first obstacle, like, oh yeah, okay, that happened. How am I feeling about that? What do I need to do? All right, and deal with it. Then we are at a greater risk for having the compounding effect, right? And so it's like, even in the really quick little moments of just leaning into, what you're really feeling can really be happening. Okay. All right. So here I wrote here, the most powerful negative emotions can overshadow the good. What was really interesting when I was in that bit of a funk was, and by the way, I have funks all the time. I just had to try to pull myself out of them faster than I did last week, because I was like, why does this not feel good? And what I noticed was I didn't even want to have a moment of wonderment or gratitude. I was like, I couldn't dig into it. Isn't that weird? Because I'm all about the gratitude and wonderment. And so that's where I will say forced. I don't generally like that sensation of that word, but that's what I had to do, was like, no, you go find the beauty in nature and in the sky and have that wonderment and, feel the gratitude. And funny, when you make the choice to do that, it's ultimately naturally going to come. Hopefully. It's just harder than it is some days, but like, you want to shift around a bad day, look at what the blessings are that are happening in it. Yeah. Oh, here we've got Stephen. Patience, tolerance with others during this pandemic is important, since people are responding in seemingly irrational ways. Oh my gosh, you're so right. I can't wait to read the rest of this, and then I have commentary. On a personal note, resetting my day when it is going wrong is helpful. A walk, exercise on my own, or an hour on my own at coffee shop with the National Post and my favorite Java. And I'm usually better. And I think that that's a big piece of it, is stepping out of the environment to give yourself a shift in perspective, and a shift in juju is really important. The National Post, although I do love the paper, possibly last week I was, and you may not have been here yet, Stephen, we were talking about it, but I was getting like, my juju was really blunted. And I realized I had been consuming so much news and getting so hyped up on everything that it was really making a big impact. Uh, I just did a speech, 2 hours with about 40 people, which was wonderful. And one of the things we talked about was remembering the fact that everybody has snow. And what I mean by that is if you've ever heard my ice cube that became the snowman analogy, so whereas the tasks and obstacles we have to deal with each and every day are the ice cubes. And what we need to, as part of the human experience, we have this big mound of snow that is represented by misplaced emotion and negative storyline, and then barriers to performance, which is like things like worrying and judgment and criticism and self-hatred and all of these different things. And so instead of just melting the ice cubes, we actually have to melt through all of the layers of snow, which is how we create the snowman, the ice cube that became the snowman. And we have to blast through the snow. So like to get the ice cube melted. And one of the observations was as they're coming back into working in person after being away from the pandemic was to remember that other people have snow too. And so like when I see these big blow ups on airplanes and not blow up on an airplane. I don't mean that, obviously. I mean like where somebody emotionally blows up and has a big fight and yells and then the cameras are there and all of that. I'm like, that is 100% a misplaced emotion. It is the boiling over point. It's the coping fatigue at a level where someone's like, I can't take one more thing. And then they just like hit this little nerve and this nerve turns into this huge nerve. And that's how they blow up. Like, that's why I believe it's so critically important to be self-aware and to look at the things that could be causing or like, me being exhausted today physically, that puts me at risk. If I wasn't conscious and aware of that, and I didn't bring that to the forefront before every time I'm interacting or even showing up on, I thought for this thing, I was like, oh, should I cancel? Like, should I not do it? Because I'm so, like, I joked with a friend of mine via text. I'm like, so if I fall asleep on the live, can you call me to wake me up, please? But, I was teasing, obviously, I won't fall asleep on you. But we have to bring that feeling to the forefront so that we're aware and we can mitigate the risk of it turning us into a quote unquote Karen, which I know so many incredible Karens. So I hate the fact that we use that phrase. And then I just used it. Okay. Greg said, I'm limiting exposures to things that aren't necessarily applicable at the moment. Great. For example, I would check the Weather Network and become anxious, even if I was working from home. Right. So first of all, weather, we have thanks for sharing that, by the way. And I don't mean to chuckle, but I'm like, yeah, like however the weather is doesn't necessarily need to impact our mood. And, if it's going to be some big, huge snowstorm and you're freaking out about it, but you don't actually have to leave the house, then you're right. Like, what a great observation. If I'm traveling, then sure, weather is critical, but I can't change it. And often the forecast is incorrect. Generally is lately. So why even go there and worry about it? Bingo. Like, think about the capacity. And I know that sounds so simple, but it's so profound, right? Like, if you think about the capacity of each and every day, we only have so much to think, to feel, to be, to do, like, and even to talk about. So let's say you have an hour to talk with someone and you spend the first 3 minutes talking about the weather. Obviously this is not drawn to scale. I don't know, but like that's 3 minutes. You might talk about it. I'm not insulting people who talk about the weather. I just don't want you to misinterpret it. But do you see what I'm saying? Like that's, if you have an hour and you take 3 minutes on this thing that really isn't significant, that's 3 minutes out of your life that you could have been talking about or dealing with or thinking about something else, right? That would have been more powerful. Yeah, what a great share. The other thing is forcing you to, not forcing, why am I using that word today? It's because I'm tired. But like one of the things I did the other day was I did up my like full makeup and my hair, even though I wasn't going to be on camera until way later in the afternoon. It was just a chance to go, wait a second, I got to get into a better frame of mind. A little bit like Steven's example, where he'll go to the coffee shop and read the paper and get a cup of Java Joe, right? And just like sit back and relax and reset the day. For me, that was something I needed to do, right? And then, oh, and here's what keeps happening. You probably have audio and you lost my camera, but it's going to come back on now. Yeah, see, happening all day. Anybody who knows the M50, and I'm also, my head chopped off, but okay, no problem. Anyway, little tech things, these things we can't get too concerned about. I think that's a lot for today. I hope if you had a bad day, there's something in there that'll help you reset it. If you want to like soak into the negative and just like don't stay there for a long time, but sometimes you got to feel the feels, go into the tough stuff so that it can process and ultimately be let go, right? And but we can't just let something go. We have to process it first. And if you're like, no, I want to get my day right back on track, these things are not related and they should be, we should be able to move on. I want to have a great rest of the day. Then some of those other tips and perspective I hope will help you. Thanks for all the chat boxes. Thanks for being here. I'm so blessed to have each and every one of you who shows up. Some of you consistently and some of you just whenever you feel like it, doesn't matter. Anytime makes me feel really blessed to be able to share my thinking. And I've often joked, like before I did all these lives, I just thought this stuff on my own. And nobody was listening to it. It was just, that's what I would do in the afternoons, was think about stuff like this. I have had a day of interruptions and distractions. Snow, thanks for these insights. You're so welcome. That's great. And I won't even get into that, but the interruptions and distractions is always like one of the top challenges that people have with productivity and their stress levels, because what it is all these outside or circumstances that are coming in and getting put on your plate, whether or not you believe that they need to be there or not. And so that's a part of a bigger conversation, which I will leave for another time. Anyway, have a beautiful day, and until next week. Hey, by the way, if you're not on my weekly email list, please go sign up. It is available at alisongraham.co, and it's /lift up or lift-up, I think actually. And also what is available now is 21 tips. They're really the best tips I've found from a solution activation principle to take control of your time. All right, just really simple things that you can do to really just feel more in control of your time. And that's available over on the website as well. Thank you. And until next time, may you stress less, do more, and be happier. Have a beautiful day.